Jacqui Clarke, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's really lovely to be here.
If it's one lady I know who knows how to make money, it's Jacqui Clarke. So I think people should read your book because you certainly know your stuff. But I love the title, Stop Worrying About Money, which is something so many of us are doing.
I've spent a lot of my career working with ultra high net worth families. What I did also was help a lot of people, and I helped a lot of vulnerable people. And what was really common was that everyone worries about money. With high net worth families, money does cause them lots of grief. And I think you might find that sometimes there'll be trusted people around high net worths that can spend their money quite freely. And then there'll be other people around them that dot their I's and cross their T's on every expense. Where I have seen probably the most significant impact of money or wealth is on other family members. And one of the things that ultra high net worths don't often do is build the same network around their children that they have around themselves. So they're already a step behind, if you like, in their development, their own financial literacy when it comes to how do I manage this wealth when actually it becomes my job.
Talk to me about the best way to go about wealth transfer, no matter if you've got millions or not.
So one of the things I love, a lot of people won't love this, but certainly this change in economic environment we're in with the higher interest rates is starting to cause people to talk more about money. So people are starting to talk about cost of living, and then that goes into the detail around how much they're spending on groceries. So actually normalizing money conversations is one of the most important things to do to help transition wealth to your family. Because the reality is, I say this to people all the time, if you're the person in the family or in the relationship who's delegated the money stuff, it's very difficult for the next generation to step up and take on that responsibility because there's a massive skill gap.
A lot of people say to me, I don't really need money education because I don't have any money. I'm just getting by, and talk to me, what do you say when people say that?
Yes, and you can see me shaking my head saying, no, that's not true. And the way I start my book is actually getting people to own their open the front door costs at home. So being sure that you understand what your baseline costs are. And I think if you do that, you're already helping build the foundation for yourself to make choices about money and how you spend. And I have been in this situation where I've had to talk to clients and say, you're going to need to sell your family home because you can no longer afford to live this way. So it's either cut these expenses and stay in the house, or you have to sell the house because you can't continue to make ends meet living this particular way. And that's not a situation anyone wants to be in.
When you talk about pulling levers to change your situation, selling your home or taking your kids out of private school or moving to the country from the city where things are less expensive are all options people have to look at, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, one of the first things to typically go is things like private education. So it's interesting you say that or you call those things out. Certainly moves to regional areas has been a really big trend. But I see now the benefits for people living in regional areas. I spend my time between Sydney and a regional area, and I see a vast difference in lifestyle in a really positive way because I don't have to walk down the street and have 50 shops in front of me that I can spend money at when I'm in the country town. It's actually quite different. So there's less choice, less option, therefore you spend less. Now, it might be a little bit different around services, and there are obviously some setbacks with some challenges with regional areas around health services and the like, but it's quite a good proposition if you want to save and build a nice family life. But if you're an employer and you've got employees who are distracted by the pressure or stress of the cost of living or their rising mortgage, that's going to make them difficult to perform in their job. So I think that stress and anxiety is one of the byproducts, if you like, of having rising interest rates and increased cost of living. So as an employer, you do have some level of responsibility to make sure that your employees have got some type of support.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I feel like employers are at that point where mental health and mental well-being is on the table. People are realizing that that's a huge issue, but financial well-being is not there yet.
There could be any number of issues that are influencing their overall mental health. It's just one big package to me. And yes, it could be the stress that's created by your mortgage alone that makes you feel unwell. And look, a lot of people have fallen into the trap around income and expense creep. So we have had a couple of good years, and I think people have naturally increased how much they've spent over time. And now we're in a position where we've got to pull that back. So what are the open the front door costs at home? Are you clear on that first? Yes, sure, you can revisit that and say, okay, that we're spending too much here and there, whether it be a load of subscriptions that aren't even used right now. Take a look at your bank account, spend some time, you get the back of an envelope, literally a piece of scrap of paper, go through your internet banking and have a look at the last month and see all of the direct debits, all of the expenses.
And I know even with myself, Uber Eats seems to suck up a lot of money. Because when you're tired and you get home from work, you don't want to cook. So ordering in is a great option, but all those things are the things that suck away your freedom.
Even with grocery shopping, like we've got a really big household full of adult sons, and I'll be spending $600 plus a week on groceries, but I'm trying to get better at what is getting used. So it's actually just about waste. I don't like the waste so much anymore. I'm not as comfortable with it when you then also see the Uber Eats on the Visa or MasterCard or Amex as well.
I feel like a lot of us now have realised this wastage thing, that perhaps, I know I've wasted a hell of a lot in the past, but you can't spend your whole life in regret, right? Because you've got to move past, yes, that's happened. Looking forward, what can we do? And cutting down waste on food is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. In fact, sort of going back 2 steps, I also agree with you that people make money mistakes and they can absolutely recover from money mistakes. I think that's a really important message for anyone, which is no matter how wrong you've done it, and there's not necessarily a particular rule book, but you can turn it around. The main thing is to set the goal so that you know where you want to get to. And you know already what you can hear in the background is cost of living's high, I'm already feeling it, we're doing okay. And then along comes a broken dishwasher or washing machine. I've got to replace that, I've got to spend $1,500. That isn't in your budget or forecast, your mental sort of capacity to spend. So it sets you back. So I can appreciate that $500, even something as small as $500 can actually just make people feel better and reduce stress and anxiety about, what could be around the corner.
What do you think? I mean, the old rule of save 10%, I mean, we're all hopefully putting super in, and that's sort of one part. But what do you think a percentage of what you're bringing in you should be saving? What's your rule?
Well, my main rule is automate. So first automate the 10%. Now I'm happy with 10%, but I would push it to 20% if I could. I'd push it as high as I was comfortable. Most people should be able to do it, and most people should be able to find that capacity or bandwidth, if you like, because otherwise I think the question is, in your lifestyle choices, where are the ones that you may need to forgo now that don't quite fit with this goal that you've got? One of the 3 biggest money mistakes I talk about is people wearing and driving their money, but it's a really common trap that people fall into. So being able to make the choices now to stop doing that is important. And how can we live more effectively off what we've got rather than replacing all the time?
Okay, final question. We read a lot lately about grey divorce, being people who've been married 20 years plus, who kids grow up and suddenly just go, yep, I'm out, I want out. And it's actually being led by women. Talk to me about the financial implications of grey divorce and what you should think about if you're thinking you want to do it.
Yeah, that's a really loaded question. Having been divorced, and for me now, almost 15 years ago, really seriously, it wiped me out financially. It doesn't have to be the same for someone having a grey divorce, in the sense that the responsibilities around children being reduced should factor into any settlement you end up having. But what's most important first up is you build your financial literacy before you make the decision to exit a marriage. So make sure that you really understand your partner's income earning potential, and you really do understand who owns the assets, how they're owned, how they're structured. And then the next step in that is understanding what type of income or money you might need to live off going forward. if you're unlucky, legal costs will eat up any of the potential savings you could have from the marriage, to be honest. So, one piece of advice I would give people, and certainly probably the biggest mistake I made that I don't think I could have influenced at the time, was ending up in court. And I would avoid that at all costs. And the other thing, Vanessa, is just having a great advisor around you. So I think that's twofold. There's really somebody financially and there's someone legally. A very typical scenario that I am seeing is some women get very focused around keeping the family home almost at all costs. And I'm seeing and hearing of women, not just one, multiple stories where they push so hard for that family home, but they end up having to sell it because they don't have the cash flow to live after that or maintain the home. So there's a lot of cash flow planning that should go into contemplating a divorce as well. But start with getting the right people around you.
Well, Jacqui Clarke, I could talk to you all day. I'm thrilled that you've written this book, and congratulations. So I'm sure you'll be speaking on one of my programs again, I have no doubt.
I look forward to it.
Great. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.